Alright, defensibility check of 6276. Legoland, the El Dorado Fortress. Classic pirates.
Much like our review of Fort Legorado, we are stepping out of the bounds of castle into another iconic, timeless theme. That is pirates.
Yeaarrrrgh! This is certainly the most formidable force the Imperials, who are ever over and against these pirates, it should seem, have ever been granted. Other fortresses have fallen very far from this most imposing
Proverbial tree. For apples ought not fall far from the tree, but indeed they have.
That makes no sense.
Oh,
Okay.
but of course.
That's not why you use metaphors, to just deny them and say they have no they don't apply here.
Speaking of apples and application,
You didn't say it.
so without further ado, let's dive in. Swimming in water and diving. We have some inaccessible tower tops.
It seems in the some few centuries that have lapsed since Castle, lessons have not been sufficiently learned about supplying your figures, these little fellows here, with reasonable ways of getting up to the tower tops to stand on them with a cup and toast the non-piracy of the day.
Comparing this to Fort Legorado, which came out at a similar time, it's kind of shocking that we don't have ladders and other features that we saw included in Fort Legorado.
It's true. If ladders were consonants, Fort Legorado would be the language Welsh, and this would be the language French. Now, that's how you use an analogy. It made things so much clearer.
We have doors all over the place, but many of them are just too short or too small. It'd be very difficult to fit anything through them. Especially look at that front entrance. Yeah, you probably have to march the cannon through there. That's not going to be pleasant, uphill, straight into a tiny doorway.
The other doorways are even smaller, one being but 2 studs wide, with a staircase in front of it.
So you'd have to squeeze in sideways.
That's where they load and unload at the wharf over there, so that's...
You can fit the chest through, but not much else. If you have 2 people walking sideways carrying it, you could get it through.
You could, on the stairs.
Unless they're wearing the tri-corner caps.
Oh, it's, yeah.
The second level where we see another one of those doors is inaccessible again because of the lack of ladders.
The cannons or carronades we have here, not certain exactly which one has been supplied with. I would hope cannons, since it's land-bound, and so will be capable of shooting far out to sea, are very difficult to load once fired. This is because they are muzzle loaders. You would have to get to the front of these cannons in order to get your sponge, worm, ram, etc. down their mouths. Now these cannons can swivel, but the cannon on the corner, guarding the bay presumably, cannot spin past the crenellations on either side. And so the cannon crew will have to expose themselves in front of these cannons instead of being able to roll them back. The cannon on the very top of the topmost tower,
The tippy top.
the tip-top cannon, is granted so little in the ways of crew studdage that one is left
With an analogy.
bewildered and bemused as to how you could possibly get a cannon crew up there to operate the piece effectively. You would need artistry of some sort for this artillery.
Sorry, it's been like 4 minutes.
I just finished. I'm done. Move on.
You can't tie the boats to the dock. There's no cord to tie the boats to the dock, and there's not really any post to tie a boat to the dock. You could argue that that one on the front left side of the fortress could perhaps be tall enough to tie something, but as far as I'm concerned, it's not adequate. So these boats just kind of have to drift around. We have plenty of doors, but they lack something crucial.
Oh, so crucial indeed. There are no locks!
Boycott that.
They're just gates. Yes, the pirates could just open them and you'd be left on the other side holding onto the handles to try and keep them closed.
Not cool. And that goes for the jail cell, too.
Yeah.
Well, I guess. Pirates aren't probably trying to get in.
Well, it's true.
Are they trying to stay in?
Oh, 3 square meals a day in heat.
Sometimes it seems like you're trying to go to prison, Coach Z.
Hey, 3 square meals a day!
Maybe.
Sometimes jail time doesn't sound so bad if you compare it with the life at sea.
We do have lots of doors and grates, which is very welcome. Makes for a great setting for your figures to play in. You can have little battles, people needing to barricade things and the like, so very welcome addition.
Rooms for a last stand, etc.
Yes. Speaking of those rooms, this whole place is compartmentalized.
'Tis true indeed. There's the lower floor of the main tower, the upper floor of the main tower, little room in your crane tower. You have your jail cell, which I'm sure you could frequent if you lacked prisoners, and a little cellar, a pretty big cellar. But
It's pretty sizable.
yeah.
It's the whole cavity of the raised base plate. There's a block used to raise and lower baskets of goods from this crane, which it's a very confusing crane because the rope spans across the distance between one tower to the next. And that block used to adjust the length is accessible, but it makes very little sense.
Maybe if you'd climb the towers and had a way to get up there, it'd make sense to keep your block up there, but...
Well, maybe you could use the grate like monkey bars or something, or like a ladder, and just scale up there.
Yeah.
Then stick your hand through that little machicolation, swing your way on up.
Oh,
We also have an armory. We can see some various swords, tools, and rifles available.
I beg your pardon, but the boring of all of these is smooth. They are not rifles, but muskets.
Oh, forgive me.
You are forgiven.
We have stairs in 2 locations. One is from the dock, or from the wharf, to the tower with the crane. The other is from one segment of the dock to the next.
The rifle loops are of a fascinating shape and an adequate size so that one can fire down toward the water, any boats in the water, from that island, and duck behind the rest of the wall. They're excellent rifle loops. A bit on the large side, it may be admitted.
Because a person could crawl through them.
Okay, no, they couldn't. Not if they were wearing a tricorner hat.
That pirate isn't.
Yeah, but his head is definitely too wide.
Well, the rag?
It'd be very difficult to scramble up the island.
Maybe he's a passive.
You can put projectiles through it.
Big enough to fit
Lego
4 cannon shots.
Lego is pixelated, and so there was only so much to be done at the time, and I, for one, am grateful that they gave us the beautiful and historical shaping of these rifle loops, as opposed to narrower holes.
We do have some small boats that can be used to circumnavigate around the perimeter of this peninsula-like landmass. It's like a peninsula, but it's not because a peninsula.
Insular.
So,
Insular. That's the word you're looking for.
what'd you call me?
Insular.
Oh.
Oh, man.
It's like a peninsula, but it's not a peninsula.
Exactly, that's why it's insular.
We have a cellar, and it's a mighty large one at that, and as we mentioned before, the jail cell. Accessibility, -5, +9, net 4. That's pretty insane.
It's incredibly accessible.
On to defensibility.
They have allowed a palm tree to grow far too close to this fortress. For reasons we have enumerated in other videos, such as climbing and burning, this is very bad. In addition, there is a gateless opening, an aperture in the crane tower, which cannot be barricaded. That same tower is used for a crane. Almost exclusively may this tower be used for a crane, I am afraid, for barely as a tower will it suffice. There's a lot of windows in the back of this main tower here.
They're not windows, they're just
openings.
lacks of
holes.
wall.
There is a chronic lack of wall.
There's some blind spots, so at times the visibility of the towers are obstructed by various things in their way, so they don't have a super great line of sight. That being said, those blind spots are generally taken care of by other devices. This fortress benefits from being in the middle of a body of water, so you cannot easily access it by land.
A very large saline moat, one may say.
Oh, you may say that.
A large saline moat. I did say it.
Well, you said one may say it, so I gave you permission.
I did.
Wow.
Did you notice?
Yes.
Oh, thanks.
This fortress is also, it's raised. Look, it's on a raised base.
It is a city on a hill, so
Wow.
to speak. The Merlons and Crenelles are of a very fine height. We've got a wall that is finally 4 bricks high total. Oh, how lovely. And while it would be very difficult to look over, there are instead rifle loops.
Defensibility, -7, +3, net, -4. Yeesh.
But rest assured, the invention of gunpowder has in no wise been wasted upon the designer of this citadel El Dorado.
On to offensibility. -0. There's nothing bad about this in terms of offensibility.
And there's a lot of good.
Cannons, carronades,
Mayhap.
swivel guns,
Oh, but of course, beautifully positioned as well.
machicolations,
And plenty.
and rifle holes galore.
Our equivalents of machicolations and arrow loops litter this naval escarpment.
Offensibility, -0, +3, net 3. As of right now, our initial total is sitting at 3.
Ah,
Respectable. On to our auxiliary graces.
we have 6 of the soldierly class here, one of whom seems bedecked in all the foppery of an admiral of the line. Yeah, with 6 you could probably hold this fort pretty well. It would be a little bit difficult to get a full gunnery crew. In the British Navy, that would often have like 4 officers, a couple of soldiers assigned to each gun, and then 2 gunners, so to speak, gentlemen who knew the operation very well, and they would drill this down as cannon groups, firing perhaps weekly, sometimes even up to daily, to get their time down to something like 4 minutes or fewer of firing. So you dedicate quite a few of your men to the pieces until your quarry came so close that musket fire was of avail.
Our final total, 4. This fortress passes.